This video is mostly meant to be listened to. Like, I'm gonna put like a few PNGs on the screen, but otherwise, just listen to it. Thunderbolts is a damn good movie. I just finished rewatching it, and even after the first time, I was sold on it, and the second time kind of just confirmed that like this movie is actually great and a lot tighter than how I felt about it on the first time. So let's just start. Like, even the theme of this movie, the entire storyline that they came up with, and bringing all these characters from face. Also, I'm gonna spoil like everything. Bringing all these characters from like the past few projects or whatever is genius, and it feels like it was a logical step. It was being set up really really well. Um, and for the most part, everybody that they pick here is like really 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 good. We're gonna go back to the character stuff soon. Uh, the soundtrack of this is great, and I'm just actually just gonna spoil this because I don't really care. The whole point that this is now the new Avengers, and how the soundtrack kind of mixes the sound of the Avengers theme, this newer Avengers theme, with the kind of like grittiness of what the Thunderbolts are supposed to be. If you listen to the theme, there's all the hopeful violins and string instruments going, and then in the background you'll have all of the brass instruments just like going ham, and it clashes but sounds so good together, and it like it's perfectly representative of like their inner like thoughts and how they feel, where they want to do all of this good and they're stuck wallowing in this bad, even though they see the potential in themselves and they know that they could be doing so much more or whatever. Like that's what they want, and yet here you get the brass constantly reminding you, boom, boom, in the background that no, you're stuck as this. You're stuck. Well, not really that you're stuck, but that you're constantly being reminded, and it's always in the back of your head that you've done these horrible things. It's always there, like banging in like the brass in the back of your head, and it never really leaves you. Anyways, the color grading is this is I think it might be the first time the color grading of a Marvel film has actually like meant something, and I'm really shocked about that because yeah, a lot of times people complain online about how washed out everything is. Like if you look at like the new Superman trailer, it actually kind of looks like this, where it's like a bit of the colors kind of like pulled out from it, but I think Superman looks great. That's a different story. Anyways, in this, it looks super super great. The color grading, it's not very colorful. Um, the only thing colorful is like Red Guardian's suit, and okay, we'll get into that after. But the color grading is so representative of what everybody's going through and the grayness of their lives and how there's like no hope. They just feel awful all the time. Everything's great to them, right? Like even though no matter where they are in the movie, everything feels great, and it's like that's just perfect. Like it's just like it actually means something. Yeah, it looks good. Of course, I feel like obviously colors always looks better, but in this it just matches it so well and looks so good. It's perfect. Um, yeah. So now we're gonna move on. I think I'm gonna talk about the characters now. I'm gonna keep praising it, and then I'm gonna talk about the flaws. Let's talk about the characters. Elena, really really good. Black Widow set her up pretty solidly. You get like a base of who she is, and then you move on to Hawkeye, which is like her almost redemption side, where she is so kind of stuck into that Black Widow mindset, and that's like you have Natasha's death, you have she okay. Let's start this again. Yelena and Black Widow meets her family, and that's a bit of hope. She's been a widow her entire life, and then well, not as a kid. She has that hope as a kid, and then boom, like for like years and decades, like her life is just awful. She's killing people she doesn't want to do. Whatever. Now she meets her family. I think it's pretty sure it's for the first time, and like that like completely opens her up, where she's able to like be vulnerable and whatever with especially with Red Guardian, David Harbour, what's his name, Alexi, in that movie, and that is great. And then Hawkeye is her still kind of holding on to that darkness inside of her, and it adds on. This is like us seeing, because she talks about how, oh, I killed all these people, I regret it, and then like she just sits every day waiting for the next bad thing to do, um, and just wallows in regret. And then this is us seeing that, right? So Natasha dies in Endgame, and then at the end of after Endgame, what's her name? Valentina comes up to her and says, "Yo, Hawkeye killed your sister. Go kill him." I still don't understand why Valentina did that in that scene. I think there's a reason. I think it was like it's probably related to like Kingpin or I don't know. I'm just gonna ignore that. I'm gonna ignore a lot of the logic there. Whatever. She tries to kill Hawkeye in the Hawkeye show. We get more of her character where she kind of puts on this very jokey persona. When she's with like Kate Bishop, for example, um, it it is in it's representative of her kind of like cockiness, because she knows that she's like incredibly strong and skilled. Like when she's just sitting in Kate Bishop's apartment, she's just chilling in there. She doesn't really care, even though Kate Bishop is pretty well trained in terms of like, I'm pretty sure she has like martial arts under her belt and whatever. She's super chill, is never really scared, and then she kind of puts on this front, especially in the last episode. And they're in this elevator in one scene, and they're always cracking jokes. Whenever she's in the Hawkeye show, Yelena's cracking jokes, and even in Black Widow, she's cracking jokes a lot of the time too. Um, and it's this kind of like front that she puts on, right, to almost kind of get past all of the stuff that she's feeling deep inside. Anyways, then I don't know. She tries to kill Hawkeye. They talk it out, and that's another huge moment for her, where she has that big moment of vulnerability. I don't really remember that episode too well, but very important. It's these events, her meeting her family, and then her meeting the kindness of Hawkeye, and realizing and dealing with her sister's death, and then now the aftermath, where now, what's her purpose? She tried to avenge her sister. She's found her family, but they're not, they, actually, I don't even know where Black Widow's mom is, but she's like not really in the picture. She has this family, but she doesn't really know what to do with it. Her sister's gone, so all she has is like her father, that she hasn't really seen in like years, and she doesn't really have anybody and or any like goal or purpose, right? She has nobody to avenge, which these are the Thunderbolts. And then she's just like off the walls, just amazing in this movie, character wise. Like they just hit the nail on the head, where everything like they're building up, or her having that redemptive arc and her having those moments of vulnerabilities, makes this movie even better, because it's not like out of nowhere all of a sudden she's just, oh, I don't want to kill people anymore, I want to be good. And that is who a certain character in this movie is, but I'll get to that when I get to that. I've been yapping about Yelena for like 3 minutes now. I don't know why. I've been explaining backstory, but whatever. Everything here is just like, it feels like such a natural conclusion, where she has all of these figures in her life that represent what she could be. In Red Guardian, in his past, he saved people, and he says in this movie that that was like the peak of his happiness. That was the peak of his life, when he was saving people. And then also Natasha is like this big thing looming over her, that like her sister's dead, and she'll never be able to kind of like live up to that, and she's always regretting and doesn't even. Anyways, that kind of sets the stage, and she's able to redeem herself, which means like all of her actions in this movie make so much sense, because like the opening scene leads into another problem I'm going to talk about later, but it basically says everything to you about how she's just sick of life, and she hates what she's doing, whatever. She explains everything I just explained, and now she wants to do something good. She literally calls up Valentina. She's like, I want something public facing. I want to be good now. So she kind of goes through that mentally, and then the rest of the movie is her enacting it. She's completely in character, even though she used to be a Black Widow, even though she's like a killer deep down. Like when they're fighting in that vault, like she has a clear shots at like Walker like a few times, but she doesn't really do it right. Especially when like she's the first one to surrender, which is great characterization, because she is the most vulnerable of that group for the reasons I just stated. So it's just great. And then her overcoming her issues. And then we skip to that amazing scene with her and Red Guardian after the fight with Sentry, where just perfect. Like that's just exactly what you want to see. That's the scene where she lets everything go, and she said things before, but this is her completely just leaving it all out on the table. And Red Guardian, like huge, just him. He's finally able to be that father for her, and they kind of both basically uh, non-explicitly say that, like, okay, we're gonna keep this going, where we're gonna be there for each other. Like, we can be there for each other. We both need each other, and we're going to keep it that way. Um, and then yeah, she's the one who, once again, she's like the one who kind of pilots this movie, because in the past series, despite all of their flaws of the past, like Phase 4 and 5, because Marvel has been pretty crap, they kind of use all of her past vulnerabilities to make her the one who is always like kind of like the first one in this. She's the first one to surrender in the vault fight, and then first one to go after Bob. She's also the first one to be like, she's like the nicest to Bob. She's the first. She's when they're fighting Bob, she like tries to de-escalate, tries to stop people from fighting him, um, and it matches everything that they set up pretty well. And then there's gonna be, I don't know, freaking those dudes on YouTube who spend like 5 hours talking about a Marvel property, and uh, like talk about every single line of dialogue and say, well, actually, this is not in character because here she says this one sentence and it contradicts. Like, bro, like, I don't care at this point. If you care about a lot of that stuff, sometimes it matters. All of that very, very, very deep down nitpicking. I wouldn't even say it's nitpicking. It's valid. It's valid criticism. But a lot of times it really doesn't matter. Let's be honest. Like, it doesn't matter. Grow up for a lot of that. And then obviously it matters for some other things, but whatever. Okay, let's talk about another character. John Walker, done mostly amazingly. In Falcon and the Winter Soldier, he was the only good thing about that show, and he is great here. Basically, in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, becomes Captain America. This dude is like, he's basically like a government simp. He does everything that they need him to do, and he does it with excellence. So they're like, this is the dude. We're gonna make him Captain America. And the entire show, he's a fantastic character. Actually, he is the only likable character in like the entire cast somehow. And he acts super logically. The issue, that show has so many flaws, but we're not going into it. But then he kills a terrorist with the Captain America shield in public, and because of that, the government strips his title away and basically like blacklists him from the government. Right? I don't know about blacklist, but they basically fire him. He gets fired, and he's no longer Captain America anymore. And then, oh man, that show does the character pretty damn well. I'm not gonna go into that now though. Anyways, we pick up here where now he hasn't been Captain America for some time. I don't know what the timeline is. Nobody does. The MCU's a mess. But what the government does is logical on their end, because some dude holding the symbol of freedom just killed somebody in public, right? Captain America is not a no-kill rule character. In the comics, he kills people, and then you're gonna say, oh, well, the comics aren't the MCU. But yeah, okay, literally rewatch like the opening scene of Winter Soldier. He kills like quite a few people right there. Captain America kills people. He's literally born in war, right? So he was made to be a killing machine. So everybody, all these idiots online are like, he killed somebody. He's awful. This dude sucks. I hate John Walker. Like, dude, I don't know how these people are that brain dead. But everybody's stupid in this world. Let's be real. But yeah, he kills a terrorist. And the government stripping away his title actually makes logical sense, because it's all a PR thing. Like, Captain America is a symbol, right? So them taking that away makes complete sense. And I wouldn't even say it's indicative of John Walker's character. Like, it's not like a bad thing that he did. I actually don't think it was a bad thing at all. Like it wasn't a bad thing what he did. It's just because it was in public. it doesn't ruin his character is what I'm trying to say. Like he is still could be that Captain America figure. It's just that it happened to be. Anyways, if I don't even know if you guys are like following with my rambling here, but basically John Walker kills a terrorist, and now he's in this movie. And he has had a divorce. He's been like super sour. His best friend dies in Falcon the Winter Soldier. His title gets stripped from him, um, and then he's been forced to basically resort to working with Valentina for the meantime, because really, what else could he do, right? I was drinking water. I'm probably not gonna edit this video because I don't care. Um. Anyways, he starts working for Valentina, and that's what he does. He can fight people really damn well. He also has a super soldier serum, which is important for Falcon Winter Soldier, but I'm not gonna yap about that. Man, I've been yapping way too much. Like, I'm saying so much, and it's not condensed. Bear with me. Trust me. Trust me. Trust me. Trust me. Anyways, he comes here and he's just like this sour character. He's an asshole, much like in the show, he was not an asshole at all. He just wasn't. Like, he was logical. He tried working with the main characters up until he was stripped of everything that he had. He was a great dude. He really was. And now he's a complete asshole. He's sour. You find out that he's lost his wife and kids, like, well, custody probably of his kid, and like his wife left him. Actually, I don't know about the custody thing, but either way, his wife left him with the kid, right? So he's basically lost everything because of what happened. Anyways, I just think his character in this movie was done pretty well. It was pretty accurate, and it lines up with like what we saw before. And now he's just a sour dude because of it. And he's always had that good in him, which means his turn to being like a new Avengers is completely logical and makes complete sense. It's not like a jump. Red Guardian in this movie. Actually, back to John Walker. There is a scene in the movie where they're trying to break something in the vault, and he says to Yelena, "On your left, banger line." It works in scenario and doesn't come off as like this cringe. Oh, they're saying the thing from the past thing. It actually like makes sense, and then him saying it, like, everything makes sense because he's a dude from the army, and then he's also happens to be Captain America, and then he says, like, I don't know, he says "on your left," which is funny, and it actually works. I haven't really heard anybody say that. And then also in the movie, Ghost mentions that he used to be Captain America for like 2 minutes, and then he killed a terrorist, or sorry, he killed an innocent person in public or in cold blood or something like that. And for some reason, John Walker does not correct her and say, actually, he was a terrorist. He doesn't say that, and they just play out the movie, which pisses me off because that is a core part of why he did what he did. He wouldn't have just killed a random person. Like, he's not a bad person in nature. He's a freaking military soldier. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it sucks because like a lot of people are gonna have this idea of him that, oh, he used to be, like, people who didn't watch the show and stuff, and also dumb people who watch the show. They're like, oh, look, this dude sucks. He's a bad dude. Like, shut your. I don't want to hear this. Anyways, let's move on to Red Guardian. Not much. Actually, I guess it's decent, but really funny character. He kind of ties the movie together because he kind of like sets the goal of what these heroes could become. He's the one who he's the glue, right? And I think it works pretty well from somebody his age. And also the fact that it's like a chance to reconnect with his daughter and really build that up. And also because he wants that glory. I think it works pretty well. It's very on the nose what he's trying to do. Like every conversation with Red Guardian is super on the nose, and it's like, oh yeah, you can tell exactly where the story's going from here, in terms of immediately he meets Ghost Walker Yelena in the desert, and he immediately brings up that they should be some sort of team, which is like it's a bit on the nose. I'm not like a super fan of that stuff. I'll get on to the bad of the movie soon, and that's kind of part of it where it's super explicit, where he just says that, and it's like, it's funny, but it's like, man, he just hammers it. We're gonna get to that later. I think he's really funny though, and in this scene with Yelena is like everything that he has to do with Yelena is just like really good. It's just like so heartfelt, and like you feel the emotion, and because his character was like solidly built up for the most part in the Black Widow movie, like you see why he would act this way in this movie, right? Like I keep saying this about the past characters, that everything like is like this is like a logical step. It doesn't feel like they're just throwing a ton of random characters together. And like no, like all of this makes sense. Um, Now we're gonna talk about Bucky. He's okay in this movie. He's basically the example of what would happen. Like basically he's the example for all of these Thunderbolts, where he was a horrible dude turned good. Um, and he has all these demons in his closet, and yet look at the way he is now. He's a freaking congressman now, and I'm not sure why they made him a congressman. I guess it's the idea that he doesn't want to be doing anything related to fighting or um, being the Winter Soldier anymore. So I guess on a character like level that works, but logically it doesn't really. And he's like a congressman for like 2 minutes, like in the real world, like so it kind of makes sense. That him fighting is like the core of his story, right? So, or sorry, like him turning to saving people is like the core of his story, because uh, he doesn't want to fight because he used to be the Winter Soldier, he used to kill people, but it's like, no, like that's he's still amazing at that, but now he can use that to save people, and that's like the goal of his character, not to be this congressman or whatever. No, no, he can turn that good. This movie's about accepting the bad, right? Uh, the That's like the core part of yourself. Is a core part of this movie is accepting that yeah you've done bad stuff, or yeah you're like you've like there's so many bad parts to each and every one of us, right? And this is him accepting, yeah, I've done horrible things with my robot arm, with the super soldier serum. I've done horrible things with it, and I can actually do it for good, right? So now he's fighting for good. Like it works. Um, and him being this leader, he's like this stone, this rock in the movie, right? And I think that works because he has all the experience to be a leader here, and it just makes sense. Even though he's super like chill and like cold in the movie in a sense, it works. I think it works really, really logically. In the start of the movie, there's a really like he's a congressman, and he tries to pull aside. He wants to get Valentina impeached because he knows Valentina's a bad person, right? So he pulls this other dude aside, saying stuff like you're out of range of the cameras now, um, and he's trying to make up some plan to get like Valentina kicked out. When I first saw the scene, I was like, man, like really, like why would he have to pull him out of the way? Like, because you're not told about the cameras yet. He grabs this dude, yanks him out of the way. I'm like, dude, like what? Like, come on, like this is the movie trying to be like a bit too much. It's like, it's just like they do this with a lot of MCU movies where a lot of people do a lot of illogical things, but it's funny or fun, so they just do it. But then if you think about it for like a second, you're like, that's weird. But then he continues talking. He's like, oh yeah, we're actually out of range of the cameras now, and it starts thinking of something to get Valentina out of this. And then the other dude's like, dude, let's just do this by the system. Like, come on, you're a congressman now. Grow up. We're doing this by the system. So it plays into his character like super, super well. He couldn't just walk up to the dude and talk to him during the party secretly, which is the logical thing to do. No, he's so stuck in like his old habits, so he tries to pull him away from the cameras, and I just love. I really, really like that. Um, who else is there to talk about? We can talk about Mel. She's a pretty solid character. I think she's a solid character, and the actress that they picked is good. Um, Not much to say. I just hope she's in the future stuff. Uh, we can talk about Ghost now. Ghost is the worst character in this movie by far. She's a very, very, very poorly done character, and it sucks because she is a like sore thumb in this movie. She sticks out, and it's so odd because she's like the only thing keeping the atmosphere and cast and group here from feeling like what they should, feeling like this new Avengers, feeling like this Thunderbolt. She's the only thing stopping it because her character is basically non-existent. In Ant-Man and the Wasp, she is just an awful person, which kind of makes sense. She was experimented on as a kid, caught in like a lab explosion or something, was given these this. She was like trapped. She was never stabilized and could never just like live life like a human. She was always like phasing through reality or something like that, right? Um, which led to her being a very very bitter person, which is very logical actually. But at the end of the movie, like she's just magically cured, and then you don't see her again until here, where it turns out she's been working for Valentina the entire time, which makes sense logically. I actually think it lines up with her character pretty well. The issue is for the rest of the movie, you get absolutely zero character work on her. Um, she just has decent banter. Her actor's good, so she's able to gel well with the team in terms of that. But we don't really know anything about her or who she is or like her need to be liked and like why she would even care to be a new Avenger, right? You don't get any of that, and it sticks out like a sore thumb, and it's so painful because when you look at the poster, you look at everything. Um, Everybody there has like a purpose, and you look at them, and you're like, wait, wait, yeah, like I can see, and then you look at Ghost, and you're like, what? No, like, okay, wait, what? And then you watch the movie, and you still feel that way because there's zero character work on her. So if they actually did character work on Ghost, which is not gonna happen, we'll talk about that more in detail later. Maybe it could have been peak, but that's not what happens. Taskmaster. This is the last person of the six Thunderbolts that is in all of the things. The asterisk has 6 points. All of the advertising, Taskmaster is there. And everybody who actually watched the movie, spoilers, Taskmaster gets shot dead after one line of dialogue at like the beginning of the movie, and it was so good. I was cheering. I was so happy. Uh, it's so good because Taskmaster in the Black Widow movie, they kind of set up something there, where okay maybe this Taskmaster character could get redeemed. Natasha did this horrible thing to this girl, and maybe there's a chance she can fix it. But guess what? She doesn't. This girl starts working for Valentina. She starts doing awful things, like awful jobs, because hurting and killing people and fighting is what Taskmaster is good at, right? So that's what she does. In this movie, she does that exact thing, except she gets absolutely walloped by Ghost because Ghost is like the most OP out of all of these Thunderbolts. I'm gonna explain what I mean in a bit, but yeah, she just gets shot like point blank. Taskmaster says like one line, shot point blank in the face. And why this works so well is because the character of Taskmaster was awfully done in Black Widow, in my opinion. That is not Taskmaster. Uh, Literally could have named, just make up a new character. I don't know why you're trying to use the Taskmaster handle. For anybody who hasn't read the comics or know anything about Taskmaster, all of those Moon Knight memes that you see online that are like Moon Knight saying like really really funny stuff, and like cussing and like whatever, that's basically Taskmaster's character, and Taskmaster is terrifying. I'll probably put a picture here of Taskmaster's face in some of the stuff I read, and Taskmaster is like so scary. And then here Taskmaster is like not even remotely close to being the same character. And they don't even use her copy abilities well in this movie at all. Whatever. But yeah, basically Taskmaster in this film is a cautionary tale for Yelena and also, I guess, by extension, the other Thunderbolts, where if she kept working for Valentina, or if not that, just doing these horrible things and living the life that she continued living, um, she would end up like Taskmaster, shot dead in the face. And that's it. She would go her entire life killing people, working for jobs, whatever, and then someday die. And they explicitly state that in the movie. Elena and Ghost have like a dialogue about that, and that's perfect. It shows exactly why they mean so much to each other, why the new Avengers and Thunderbolts should mean so much to each other, because they're each kind of pulling each other out of that chance for them to die after accomplishing nothing in life, right? It's so good that they did this. They put Taskmaster in like all the promotional material, and then you come here, boom, shot point blank at the beginning of the movie. This character is awful. Um, Nobody wants this Taskmaster, and then they also use that as a point to develop the story and the mindset of the characters in the movie and show them what can happen if they continue the way they were. So that's just amazing, in my opinion, that they were able to do that. This is one of the few times that the MCU was able to kind of gel together a few things and actually make things have a purpose. Okay, Valentino, we're talking about short. She's getting impeached in this movie, and she basically is an opportunist, and then I think she's pretty good in this movie. It's just that we don't really know her motives necessarily, other than to be a successful human being, I guess. It doesn't make any sense. Like, I gotta rewatch a few things probably, but like her recruiting Elena to kill Hawkeye doesn't really make any sense. But that's like what, 4 years ago at this point. Holy cow. Um, but yeah, she's pretty fun in this movie, which is good because she doesn't feel boring. Like she's great in this movie. I'll be honest, even if her logic might not be perfectly sound. And last thing, Sentry. Last big character in the movie is Sentry. And okay, there's actually a lot to talk about here. I guess so. Sentry is one of my favorite comic book characters in concept because of just his power set. Basically, he's like super 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 strong. Whenever he turns into Sentry, and the Void, like I said, does the opposite of whatever Sentry does. And in this movie, they decently adapt that aspect of him. I think it's kind of weird how they do it, and but otherwise, it's pretty decent. I love how they were able to get the idea of Sentry and Void, these the best parts of somebody and then the worst parts of somebody, and use the Void as the message for this movie. It's like if Sentry was gonna be used for any MCU movie telling any story, this is the one where it like perfectly matches, because Sentry as a whole, that character, is so deeply rooted in mental health that it's perfect for this movie. It doesn't feel like, yeah, let's just throw in another superhero in this one. Let's add this superhero in this one. Let's add this supervillain in this one because we need a new superhero in this one, because we need a new villain in this one, such as Ironheart in Wakanda Forever, right? She really does not need to be in that movie, but they do it because they're like, oh, let's just add as many characters as possible. No diss to Ironheart. She's not awful, but whatever. Anyways, Sentry's done pretty good in this. I think he's done pretty decently. Uh, yeah, I don't really know what else to say. They use it as a mental health thing. They really go into depth with that. He struggles with a lot of stuff, and the Thunderbolts all helping through it, and the Void is done so well in this. He looks so cool. In the comics, the Void is a lot more like kind of like cosmic and like kind of looks like almost like a symbiote in terms of it doesn't really look like this just black shadow, but I think the way they did it here is perfect because it just matches the story and it looks really cool. The only thing about Sentry is how they treat him in the comics. So basically, when they find Sentry in the comics, he's this dude who's locked himself in like prison. They find this dude in a jail cell, and he has a wife. They find his wife, and then they find this comic book writer who's written about Sentry, and that's the only trace of Sentry they're able to find on Earth. Nothing else. And it's revealed that Sentry, along with like Reed Richards, whoever, Iron Man, whatever, they're able to rid the world of the memory of a Sentry, in which Sentry actually fought alongside the Avengers in many major battles in the comics and did so many great things on Earth, but nobody remembers because he completely erased Sentry from everybody's memory on Earth, and by extension, the Void. See, whenever Sentry uses his powers, the Void ends up doing the opposite, right? So Sentry does this to stop the Void from ever happening. He devoids the world of his Sentry part, his good, his amazing, simply to get rid of the bad, the Void, etc. Right? And him overcoming that and then accepting it and dealing with it is a huge part of his origin. That actually is his origin in the comics, and I think it's quite fantastic. I think it's very well written, and I think it makes a lot of sense, and it would have made a lot of sense here, and it would have played perfectly in theaters. Imagine if all of a sudden they redo the fight in New York scene, and then you see in the like it goes to a cut where Sentry's helping them in New York, right? And then it cuts to Ultron where he's helping destroy like Doombots, and he's been there the entire time. It's just we were all got that erased from our memory. Um, and of course, in Infinity War, that brings up problems. So we could say that they do the memory thing before Infinity War or something. Anyways, I think that would have played great in theaters. Sentry is one of my favorites, just like in that concept alone. And I think he's done pretty good here. Lewis Pullman does a good job acting as him. He's very different in this movie, but like it works. I think it works for the character that they're trying to do here, and it really does help gel the team together, right? That's it for the characters. Holy cow! I yapped for like an oblivion. Yeah, just the movie as a whole. I'm glad they took such a logical route for the final battle, because it doesn't make any sense that any of these people would be able to even stop Sentry or Void at all, and that's not what happens. So I'm really happy that they didn't use any BS to stop this unstoppable villain, such as somehow Scott Lang defeating Kang in Quantumania. I'm so happy they didn't pull that here. You guys have no clue how happy I am they didn't do that. Um, and also the fact that it perfectly ties into the core theme of the movie. Anyways, the New Avengers reveal is pretty logical. I feel like it works pretty well. I think there's an issue with this that I'll talk about soon, but I really like this reveal of the New Avengers because it shows Valentina's like opportunism, where she is able to even do this out of whatever the heck happened in this movie, and it's just like it's about time. You know what I mean? Avengers have been gone so long. For some reason, it takes like years for them to ask the new Captain America to start an Avengers team. So all of a sudden, boom! Now we have the new Avengers. And when they reveal this scene, actually in the movie, I think it's a pretty great scene. Bob has no memory of them stopping Void because he doesn't even know what Void is, because the three different personalities of Sentry. So Bob is like clapping at them when they reveal the new Avengers, and it's really funny because he doesn't even realize that he himself is a part of it. I just thought that was such a great scene. There's a lot of little moments of humor in this that actually work. Before like the scenes even take place, the credit is like oddly really good, where they show a ton of these like newspaper headlines of people reacting to these new Avengers. And I just think like that was just great. Like it adds to the realism and is saying a lot of stuff that we're thinking. And it's just funny as well. So I thought that was great. Like even when the movie's over, it's still giving. I think it's time to talk about the bad. So one of the biggest issues of this movie is just how explicit in its message and everything it is. They repeat the core of the movie like 50 billion times. They cannot stop talking about how, oh, we're all losers and we want to do something good. Like it's basically like they repeat that like a billion times, that like, oh, we all suck. We have so much wrong with us. We're all awful. We're all awful. And then like you have like Red Guardian constantly saying, oh yeah, let's make a team. Let's make a team. Let's make a team. Let's make a team. It's like, holy cow, like, man, we get it. Like, why don't we like logically move towards that? Which like we do. Like we do mostly naturally move towards that once it comes to that point in the movie. But I hate how like explicit it is in they're just explicitly saying all of their trauma and issues like several times. Like they just keep saying it. A lot of what they talk about is that, and it's like then you have the scene where they're driving to the new Avengers Tower, um driving to Valentina, and they're just in the back of the truck and they're talking to Walker about his mask and his gun, and it's like yeah, like give me more of that. Give me more of that. When they're climbing like the elevator, give me more of that. Regardless, though, it's still pretty good, right? Like the dialogue is still mostly very good for the most part. Um, Aside from how explicit it is, which I think does tamper the movie a lot, in my opinion. Like even Valentina says it like several times. Like they just cannot say enough of how these ragtag group of people who are so awful. Like man, like they would never get together in a team, or guys, we should really get together in a team, or wow, guys, we have nothing to live. Like it's too explicit. That's really is my biggest thing. There's probably a few logic flaws with the movie, especially at the beginning where they're all trapped into the incinerator vault. For Valentina to get rid of her uh, skeletons in the closet this way seems a bit illogical because of how all of the variables to it, and then the fact that they're even able to escape in the first place doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. But it gives us a pretty great movie, so I don't really care. Once again, this is one of those things that you just gotta. There's gonna be these stupid logic flaws like this in like every Marvel product. And as much as that means, yeah, it's basically bad writing. You just gotta look past it. Can't dwell on it. I think it is time to talk about the best scene of the movie, which is when the Void takes action and the Thunderbolts band together to save the day. Except they don't even know that they're Thunderbolts or the New Avengers, and they just save the day. And it is the one of the best Marvel scenes ever made. The soundtrack is great. You have everybody running around this gray city, and they're the hope, right? Um, I said this earlier that I was going to mention this, but Red Guardian is basically the only color in this movie because he's the hopeful one, and he's the first person to save people when all of this debris starts falling down onto the city of New York. Um, and he's that color. Like, he's holding the shield above people, blocking the debris from hitting them. And they're looking at him and they're following him because he's this red symbol of hope. Um, and it clashes with the gray misery of the color grading and even just the void in itself. And then you have like everybody else, all the other Thunderbolts, where they're like, that's what we should be doing. And I just think it just works so well. It just works so well. And that scene is so good where they're just saving civilians. It's so simple, and yet this is one of very few movies who even gets it and understands it. And then you get to, in my opinion, like arguably the best scene in the movie where uh, Walker, there's this huge piece of like concrete where Walker's holding it up to save people, and then everybody comes in and pushes it off of him back. And it's like, that's the explicit subtlety I want to see. I don't want to see them saying it. I want to see them like showing it like that, where it's like, this is us taking the burden off of each other. Look at us push it off of each other. We're all working together to do it, but they don't say a word. And also in that scene, you have just the soundtrack just going crazy, and it's like, heck yeah, like this is so good. I love that scene a lot, actually. But yeah, this is our new Avengers now. Only issue is Ghost because she just has no character work, so it's very weird even having her here because we haven't really seen her do any good aside from push one person out of the way in that final fight. And she doesn't even seem like she has any desire to be good. And this leads into the missed potential section of this video, where I feel like there's so much missed potential with this movie in terms of this should have been the end of Phase 4. It would have worked logically. We've already seen all these characters by the time we've finished Phase 4. Capstone Phase 4 with boom, New Avengers. You can call it Thunderbolts asterisk. Doesn't matter. Obviously, hindsight is 2020, but this should have been the end of Phase 4, and it would have fixed so many of our issues. And then end of Phase 5, you could have the okay, basically the movie ends where they reveal this is our New Avengers, and then there's a post credit that takes place 14 months after 14 a year and 2 months after the end of the movie. That's one of the biggest time skips we ever get in a Marvel movie in terms of just jumping and leaving all that space empty, right? So we see them now a year later, and well, John Walker is a stupid hat, but I think the scene was pretty good. They explicitly state what Sentry does, which is pretty good because Sentry is very vague in the movie. This is just me yapping. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. But that 14 months time skip to now, these guys are literally Avengers. They have their own tower. They're Avengers, full-fledged. They all have their own suits. And it just sucks that we never got to see that 14 months in between. It really, really does, because these characters are really fun together. And if Phase 4 ended with Thunderbolts, and then Phase 5 we get something else where we're able to get that 14 months in a movie, I think, like, dude, this whole multiverse saga would have went so much more smoother. Obviously, hindsight's 2020, but yeah, I really, 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 really would have loved to see more Thunderbolts before Avengers Doomsday comes out, because Avengers Doomsday is, I'm gonna make a little short video about this. Probably gonna record it after this. Avengers Doomsday is doomed, and we're probably not gonna get much character work at all for the new Avengers in it, because this was their character work, and in my opinion, it's not enough. I think this movie is far too short, and we didn't get enough work on our main cast in terms of Ghost especially, and then even like Walker could have had a bit more. But whatever, this is what we have. And leading into this post-credit scene, not even leading in, sorry, in this post-credit scene, we're told that Sam Wilson, Captain America, is starting his own Avengers, which follows off of Brave New World, which is fine. I'm fine with him having his own Avengers team, or having two Avengers teams, because there's so many characters in this. But they're oddly having like this conflict between Bucky and Sam, where like Bucky reached out to him and is like, yeah, I told him that we're already the new Avengers, but he didn't really care. He's gonna make his own team. And it's like, why are we fighting when we're both trying to save the world, and you have no reason to be fighting each other? And I've heard people say that there's gonna be like this little mini civil war where you're gonna have these two Avengers teams kind of like fighting to save the day, and that's gonna lead, like, what are we doing? Why are we like retreading ground that is not gonna nearly match the impact of Captain America Civil War, where that actually had some meat behind it? And it's such a manufactured and fabricated piece of conflict to have these two Avengers team conflicting now, when, in my opinion, the way they should go about this is that there are two Avengers teams. There's no conflict between them, but they're each doing different things, and because there's no communication between them, because they're two different teams, it leads to the issues that like happened in Infinity War, where you have these two different teams fighting Thanos, and if only they were together, Thanos would probably be defeated. And that's probably going to happen here, where because they're so split up, everybody's so split up, there's not this core Avengers team that has everybody in it. That's what kind of leads to Doom's success in Doomsday. But I really hope they don't really carry on with this whole conflict between them, and they just do more of what I said, where it's just, you know how you have two Avengers teams. Or maybe more if we have a Young Avengers, but that's for another day. I think I talked about everything I want to talk about. I'm going to trim out this video a bit more. If you're watching this, it's probably trimmed down, but it's probably still super, super long. And I think Thunderbolts is pretty great. I think it's pretty too explicit with the dialogue, and it ruins the subtlety of the movie. It would be so much more if it just wasn't cheaply written in that sense, but for the most part, This movie's pretty much a banger. I didn't even mention like the action in it is pretty good. The pacing is fantastic. It goes by and so quick. Like it goes by and it feels so good. It doesn't feel like you're rushing, but it doesn't feel like you're so slow. It is structurally so unique from the average MCU film that it also makes it far more enjoyable. Um, but yeah, uh, I hear about this for hours. This movie's great. Go watch it if you're even listening to this or care. If you've already watched it, you already know. Uh, yeah. I should also add that I think this movie is a bit overhyped by everybody else talking about it. I don't think it's like above like an 8 out of 10 just because like the writing could be so much sharper and like Ghost existence is pretty bad. Um I would say it's like an 8 out of 10 if I was gonna give it a score. I think it's like around there. The more I think about it and like after rewatch, I like it so much more and I think it's so much more solid than what I originally thought. Um, yeah, I mean, there's a few logical things there that I'm not gonna go into detail with because there's gonna be a dude on YouTube who makes like a 5 hour video saying that Thunderbolts is the worst MCU movie ever made because somebody does something that contradicts something else. I don't care. It's a freaking comic book movie. Uh, sometimes I go by logic, but anyways, great movie.